Well, joining me now to discuss this is Australian education expert Dr. Kevin Donnelly. Welcome to the show, Kevin. Look, is Alan Finkel right? Are we failing our children? Are they going to not reach their earning potential because the methods that we're using to teach them in schools just aren't working?
You're right, Sharri, and the chief scientist is also correct. What troubles me and many other people is that we've known about this problem for over 30 years. I mean, I go back to when I started teaching, and really the rot started to set in back then, where we moved away from teachers being in charge of the classroom, what they call explicit teaching. We moved away from phonics and phonemic awareness when teaching young children how to write. And we moved away from having disciplined classrooms where teachers, were, as I say, were authority figures. So we've known about this issue for over 30 years. And the real problem, I mean, if this was Qantas, they're talking about a parliamentary review, even a royal commission. If this was an industry where there was profit and loss in terms of money, there would be a lot more reaction to it. But unfortunately, those in control of education in Australia, they're the ones who are responsible, but they're still in charge.
Well, let's look at the figures from this report today by Equity Economics. It says that 4 out of every 10 students in Australia don't meet international reading benchmarks for 15-year-olds. 4 out of every 10 don't meet international reading benchmarks for 15-year-olds. I mean, it's really appalling. And then the report goes on to say that children who have lower literacy levels are more likely to end up in the lowest income bracket as an adult. So this really is our school system, I mean, it seems like it's sabotaging students for the rest of their lives.
Well, we've had generations of young people who've left school going into work or training or even university, into tertiary, and they don't often have the basic skills, whether it's learning how to write an essay, how to do calculus, how to do physics, chemistry. What they've had to do at university level is to dumb down first year to address this problem. And the other point I should make, and you've mentioned, if you're not literate and numerate, if you're not successful leaving school, that really has a consequence in terms of your earnings over your lifetime. There's also the wider problem of productivity. Everybody talks about Australia being a low productivity nation. We have to improve that. One of the quickest ways is if we have young kids coming out of school who are literate and numerate and able to cope with the workforce. I mean, whether it's the Business Council, whoever it might be, we have every year complaints from employers that young people don't have the skill in the jobs they're going into. So it's productivity, it's young people's earnings, but it's also the fact that it's been happening for so long. Yeah. Unless government, state and federal address this, we're in real trouble.
I mean, the one issue is teaching methods, but the other issue is that children and teenagers, more teenagers than young children, are just on social media the whole time, on TikTok and Facebook, so they're spending less time writing. There's a report in Sweden today that says returning to more traditional ways of learning, like quiet reading time, an emphasis on printed books to counter this digitised approach to learning could be having more of an impact. What do you think about this? Do you think this digital learning is a factor in our declining education standards? Do you think we should follow Sweden's example, having less time on the apps and more time just sitting down with kids reading actual books?
Definitely, Sharri, that would be a good thing to do. I mean, it's interesting. I wrote an article for The Australian many years ago looking at Silicon Valley in America. A lot of the executives in these digital companies, they send their children to schools like Montessori or Steiner, where there are no computers. Really, they're taught handwriting, which is crucial for hand-eye coordination. And they're also doing memorisation, rote learning, whether it's poetry or times tables, because they understood in the same way you have to hardwire a computer, young children have to hardwire the circuitry in their brains, if you like. And cognitive psychology proves that. that especially in primary school, get rid of the computers, get rid of the screens. Parents must help here as well, because instead of using screens as babysitters and letting children take their phones or laptops into the bedroom, parents should be ensuring that young people are reading printed books, learning how to catch a ball and getting that basic skills that will really help them in their further education.
Exactly. It's a whole nother world now. Kevin Donnelly, thank you very much for your time.